There's a lot of things that you've done well. There are a lot of things that people do well. It's a question of recognizing that, keeping that on board, and fine-tuning what is not working for you. It's almost going through a process of identifying what are the hopes, the unwritten hopes in the organization. What are the positive and the negative myths that actually exist within the organization? When you talk about a culture, you can have all your rules and regulations, but a culture could be a positive culture could be that people truly get recognized for their contributions. That's a positive myth that exists, whether you have a system or not in place to do that. A negative myth that could exist is, unless you're a particular nationality, you will not get promoted. Now, I am sure that there is no organization in this region that actually has that as a written code. But when you go into the organizations, you will hear it from people. And that's what we're talking about in terms of aligning the culture. Your systems, your processes do need to be in place, and they need to be clearly defined. Once you define them, that's when it takes shape only when you publicize it. If you talk about it, if you stand by it, if you use every opportunity to ensure that the positive myths are actually recognized and the negative myths are actually dissuaded within the organization. But if you're just going to ignore it, that you're going to promote a culture that is not in line with your business strategy. And continually energizing it. Energizing through recognizing the positive every time it's been positively reinforced and doing something about it every time it hasn't been positively reinforced. Those are the 3 steps that you will take. If you take this to the next step, now you're looking at breaking it down from the overall key players to the corporate culture, down to the different departments within an organization, where you're looking at involving people. Involving people for what? You've told them that this is the strategy that you're looking at following, but they need to be involved in being able to define and connect with the success factors. How are you going to rate their success? How are they going to know that they're actually achieving and contributing to the vision? How do they know that they are contributing to the strategy? When we talk about the level of involvement, it is for them to know what are the success factors, contribute and define it for themselves. Simple question that you can ask them: what can I count on you for? They start taking ownership. It doesn't have to be as complicated as we really make it out to be. There are certain basic and very simple steps that can be taken as far as that's concerned. When you talk about facilitating, and you've involved them, obviously it's a process that puts people out of their comfort zone. It's a different area. Facilitation is a skill. Leaders and managers need to be able to facilitate feedback, good or bad, to be able to facilitate and take on board frustrations, apprehensions, successes, recognize all of that before they can communicate a response back. Rather than what most managers do, firstly, they don't really involve them in the decision making, they're given the KPIs. To say, these are your indicators, this is what we're going to be measuring you against. They're not involved in the decision-making process of what those KPIs are going to be. And then, you don't facilitate, you just communicate back to them to say, yep, you met that or you didn't meet it. How are we going to get you to meet it? So the facilitation process really needs to happen before rather than after the communication. So as you see, what we're trying to do is we started off from there and we're building steps down to the performance and we've come to the organizational units. Now, every department has a certain section, different teams that work within it. This is where your strategy and your KPIs and have been broken down into individual goals and objectives for smaller teams. So it's like you started eating an elephant, but you've got to take it one step at a time, one bite at a time. You bring it down to a level where they can relate to the objectives. Now, the first step, which is critical here is focus. Focus on their own teams or groups' objectives and goals. Once they have understood and they've been able to gain the focus on their own team's objectives and goals, after that is when they need to be able to unify it with the other teams in their departments. But till you don't get the focus, till I don't understand what am I supposed to be doing, and how does it connect with my immediate team, I'm sorry, thinking about somebody outside this is very difficult at this moment for me. So the first step is for people to understand that. How does it impact their team? How does it impact them? And then unify it to the teams. And after that is when you start, importantly, connect it back. To say, this is how you fit within the strategy. This is what your role is, and this is how important your role is within the organization. It eventually comes down to individuals. Individuals where they need to be aligned to their tasks and to their jobs. We say, and I've heard this a lot throughout the 3 days that I've been here, we're talking about engaging people. My question to you is, before you engage people, have you actually enabled them? When you go through a change process, when you're talking about people trying new behaviors, when you're talking of people trying new tasks, new skills, have you given them an opportunity to learn those skills? Enabling individuals is the highest and the most important thing that you can actually do. Because I want to ask you, if you do not have a particular skill, can I actually get you to buy into or be motivated or engaged in a job where you feel that you can't perform? I don't think so. No matter how much I might motivate you, or try to motivate you, no matter how much I might pay you, no matter how much I may do all of the other things that comes under the engagement bracket, but till I haven't enabled you for you to see that you can succeed in the task, in the behavior that I am asking of you, or the organization is asking of you, there is no way I can buy you here. I have to first get you here. I have to first make sure that your skill levels are up to a point where you are then comfortable saying, right, now you can make me feel. Now I allow you to connect me to the organization. Once you've got the mind and you've got the heart, now is the time for empowerment. Now, Peter Drucker put it very aptly. Empowerment is nothing more than responsible initiative. I want you to think of that for a minute. Responsible initiative. Can somebody take responsibility when they don't know how? Can somebody make responsible decisions when they don't have the skill? Can somebody take the initiative if they're not bought in? And that's what we mean by empowerment. Eventually, you're asking somebody to take decisions on their own, take up challenges, and produce results on their own. Are they enabled and are they engaged? And that really connects performance, vision to performance. What's the role of leadership here? Now, if you look at the role of leadership in this, at different levels, it is the key is the leader. If the leader does not believe at any stage, and if the leader is faltering, it is, it's you putting your people back on their treadmill, and you're going to just promote fence sitters or saboteurs in your organization, no matter how much you try and change things. And every time you change